Hey ladies, welcome to week 3 of the Stronger Than the Struggle. If you guys are just joining us, feel free to check out week 1 and week 2, and then we also did an introduction, so there's 3 videos to check out. We're excited that you guys are all here, and we're going to jump straight into the questions, and I am going to throw it to Kayla. She's the question girl.
Yes. So chapter 5 and chapter 6, which is the 2 chapters that we covered. Chapter 5, I'm going to start with is Satan comes to steal. So one question that I want to go over is that God wants to speak good promises over you about your future. In what ways does listening to him instill confidence and hope in you for the battles you are facing?
Wow, that's a tough one. Chastity? I'm going to unmute her because I think she's still muted.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
You're
no,
fine.
that is that's a real tough one. But so knowing that, like in the book when she talks about, I don't know, where I'm directed towards on that question when her son fell from the 2-story building, or 2-story from the house, 2 stories down.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that something or somebody, something, a force is there to protect you, and trying to live your life without fear is probably the hardest thing anybody's ever had to do. But in the book, that's where she's saying, that's amazing. It was a miracle that, her son didn't get hurt, and that some people take advantage of that. And I think she goes into the Bible verse about giving the first son up for the food, and I'll let y'all go with that.
I want to just point out one thing on page 83 of the book. It goes through in a Bible verse where it's talking about Isaiah, and the part that really hit me the hardest, it says where they're talking about the word shalom and where it comes from and what it means. And this, I underlined it because this took me a few moments to really understand what it was really trying to say. I will soothe you. I will shalom you. I will usher you into perfect peace when you keep your eyes on me, despite the trouble shaking up your world. Rather, the Spirit of God is coming to rescue us right in the middle of our chaos, to bring us his perfect peace so we will not be distracted by Satan's scheme. And I don't know about you ladies, but there's been several times actually in the last few weeks where I feel like all these things are just kind of building and building. And I have had an extra piece that I was actually trying to explain this to Kayla earlier tonight, that I've had this extra piece almost surrounding me and protecting me from all of these things that my hands aren't even in them. Like, that has nothing to do with me personally, but has to do with other people in my life and the things that are happening around them. And normally I would be under like extreme amount of stress and worrying because I want to help and fix and do all the things. And one, it's not my place to fix. I can't. There's nothing I can do. But having that peace surrounding me where I don't feel that extra burden or the stress, it's been really surreal for me.
I think that fear gets in the way of a lot of things, and I think that fear comes in our way of being able to trust God, because it's kind of like, it's not, I want to say, like, not always like the devil is speaking to you, like and kind of like coming in to take his moment and try to like overtake you. But I like fear comes in a way of our peace a lot of times, and like being able to trust in God fully. So for her to use, like, Havilah to use that example in chapter 5 about her son falling, and I'm like, and it's like a miracle that nothing happened to him. That right there is enough belief in God, like, you know what I mean, that he provides miracles. So I thought that was.
And also, I'm sure this is probably a question you're going to have. I don't know, but I know, like, I'm trying not to go a step ahead. But like when we talk in the book, and when she talks about when you talk about fear, it wasn't fear, it was anxiety and stuff. When you, I think it was the beginning of chapter 5 that she talks about how she was having this sickness every single time she went to get up on stage. It was the fear of not being perfect, and how that was brought to her by reaching out to somebody that she hasn't spoke to in a long time. You know what I mean? It was that fear of, yeah, I want to go into the whole kid thing too. So just let me know. We'll flow into it. We'll flow in.
I just wanted to touch base on the bump and lift concept because I'm sure there's an actual real question. Kayla, if you want to read that one or if you want to just talk about it.
There is. So, and I was actually going to read a part from chapter 4. Chapter 4 from chapter 5 on, I don't know what page it was that I was just in. Oh my gosh, sorry, the cat's messing with me right now. So on page 89, before I get to the question, it says, the devil comes to shake you, but God comes to steady you. Your enemy comes to bump and lift your faith, but the Holy Spirit wants to hold you still, propping you up. God intends to lean over your life and speak gently and firmly about your future, instilling confidence in you once again, all while your eyes stay firmly locked on His. And then I just want to go into really quick the question.
That's the exact phrase that I have highlighted on the book. The exact section, word for word.
That is funny. So the bump and lift is a pickpocket technique that also applies to spiritual warfare. What is one bump of difficulty you have experienced recently, and how has Satan tried to lift your peace, hope, and joy as a result?
Oh, well, again, it kind of all goes back to other people. Like, I mean, not myself necessarily, but because I'm involved in the outskirts of some of the things that are happening, like medical things that are happening. Several people in our family were in car accidents, major serious car accidents, and a few other people had surgeries and just other things that we didn't expect. I feel like these surrounding moments of, hey, I'm noticing like this isn't normal, this is abnormal, but it has nothing to do with, like, in essence, the story about the little boy out the window. Like, that was a miracle. Like, the mom was like, what? Like, no, I need to stay here. Like, I don't get it. Like, we can't leave. There has to be something wrong because we expect it. And when we have that undying chaos in our lives that is causing us to be focused on, like, oh no, something has to be wrong, like, we miss those moments of, like, oh no, things are going great, because we're constantly looking for those things that are supposed to be wrong. And that's where I feel like Satan, it takes advantage of us, and that's where he kind of weebles his way into, like a little cockroach. He can get into anything, and then it's like, oh wait, and then all of a sudden there's a big chaos, crazy mess, and you're like, then it's like in your face and you don't have a choice.
We miss the moment, just like you said, we miss the moment to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're focused on, well, what else could be wrong then? Like, something's wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Kayla,
Yeah, next question.
did you want to say anything about anything else in chapter 4, or?
No, I don't know why chapter 4. I thought I was back in chapter 4 for a second. No, I think we're okay to move on to chapter 6 if you guys are.
Chastity, is there anything you wanted to say about chapter 5?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Sure, it's in chapter 5. Okay, so the whole, we've been lied to.
Mm-hmm.
We're lying to our children. That got to me. I don't know if I believe what I'm having, difficulties understanding where she's coming from this. Because she said, and I don't have the book in front of me. I just wish I did, but I don't. But it's what it is. But she was reading about how we've been lied to in our life. So in aspect of, some parents require their children be, superstars, and they, and it says in there that you should never ask more from a child than their personal the best. And I agree with that. But it said there that the first lie was that I don't, God, I remember how,
Looking for it.
yeah, no, it's okay. I'm trying to remember how it was said. The first lie was that we do not, oh gosh, my mind just went blank. Um, oh my gosh. That the kids have to be absolute perfect, or the lie is that you can be whatever you want to be. You can be whatever you want to be as long as you believe and you work hard at it. And she said that's the first lie, but I don't believe that. Now, she's saying that if you're mentally and physically, I guess, not capable to be a doctor, you can't. But I don't believe that. I believe with strength, hard work, focus, and you can do whatever it is you want to do. But why does she say that as lie number one? Like there's a lie number one and a lie number two, and it all revolves around that. So I just what your thoughts.
My thoughts and the way that there's a famous leadership, John Maxwell. He actually talks about this very point, and it took me a long time to finally understand this concept when he finally explained it in this way. And it's not verbatim, but I'll do my best to explain it to you. If you can't sing, you can't sing. You could take lessons and you can learn and you can do great, but if you can't sing, you can't sing. If you can't hit a tune and people don't enjoy it, then you can't be successful at it. And that's where they're saying is no matter what you do, it's a lie. Like you can't do that. There are things.
You might not be able to be successful at it, but you can be personally happy with it.
Right. And I think that's where they draw the line with a career or a job or something that you can make money at. I think that's where they draw the line between that as a lie. There are physical things like, okay, the best way to explain this, and he explains this too, is there are certain things that we can say we're a 2 at on a scale of 10. You could improve to be a 4, but if you're a 6 at something and you improve, you could become an 8. And so I think that's where they draw the line of focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. And so in the realm of you can be anything you want to be, that you already somewhat have a natural talent at. That's how I perceive it. And I think digging in deeper and finding those things that you're really passionate about and the gifts that God gave us, I think that's where it lies. You can be like, I want to be a comedian, or I want to be a singer, I want to learn how to, I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with an example for you.
With what she said, that kind of goes in line with it, because I remember like the next little bit, she talked about somebody asked her, who's the best out of her 4 children or the best out of, and her husband or whatever. And she repeats that they all have their strengths. They're all good at each individual thing. So it's not best, like one might be a doctor, one might be a lunch man, whatever, but they're all personal strengths.
Right. And I think that, until I heard John Maxwell explain it the way, I struggled with it, because I'm like, I want to be whatever I want to be, but there are certain restrictions on what your physical body can do, or your physical mind. Like I'm not saying that you can't learn a skill. I'm not saying you can't become smarter, or you can't memorize things, or you can't do those things, but if you're only a 2, you're never going to get to an 8. It's just not physically possible for you if that's not something, one, you're super passionate about, or something that you have the undying devotion for.
I totally get that, but like she said, we are lying to our children and we shouldn't. And I don't know, I just, this is one part with her I will have to disagree on, because I feel like I would tell my kid that you can be anything you want to be as long as you adore, as long as you put forth the effort and you work hard at it, because you know what, that's going to strive and put her to do her absolute best, whatever it is.
Right.
And I don't know, I had to disagree with her on that one. That's the only one.
I know. I agree with what you're saying. I'm kind of to be honest with you, I'm in the middle. I tell my kids all the time, like, do what you want to do. So I'm encouraging the fact, like, them to be the best version of them. But I'm kind of opening the door of like, well, what is it that you want to do? And kind of that inner work, like, I really enjoy this, or I really enjoy that. Well, I'm not really good at that, but guess what? You need to learn how to fold laundry and cook, because you have to survive. So it comes hand in hand. You have to learn skills to live in the real world, but you can't you know, dedicate all your time to something that you're just not good at. Like, it's not going to propel you somewhere. And I hate to focus on the money thing because we don't serve money. Like, we don't. But you could be super passionate and love something and not make a dime at it. And I think that's where this hits home with me about what you're saying, is telling your kids they can be anything they want to be. And that doesn't mean for a job. And that's where I draw my line in the sand of, you be whatever you want to be. It doesn't mean you have to do that for a job. It doesn't mean you have to make money
Right.
at it. Kayla, anything?
I think that the wording could have been a little bit different.
Right.
Because like I'm in the middle as well, right? But the wording, the way she said it, I think she could have done it a lot differently.
Yeah.
Because
But then
I
the
think
perspective would have changed as well, you know?
if she would have said like misleading our children, and maybe the wording different, but she said, the first lie and the second lie, we're
Yeah.
being like, hold on, no, we're not, so yeah, you're right. All right, that was my, like, that was where I was like really, rereading it. I was like, yeah, that just threw me again. I thought maybe if I put it down and reread it, wording would come out a little different, but it didn't.
So I want to read something from chapter 6 on page 100 before you jump into the question, Kayla. This just kind of hit home with me. It says, Havilah, if you don't look at fear as your enemy, it will defeat you one day. His words challenged me. He was trying to wake me up from my anxious coma. He was giving me permission to fight back. My racing thoughts came to a halt, and I remembered focusing on one clear thought. I haven't come this far to melt into fear. And I can probably speak for all of us women who are actually on the call, that we all have not come this far to just be like, I'm done. Like that, every day I think about that. When I have my moments, I'm really struggling. I'm like, I haven't come this far to just be like, all right, this one little straw that broke the camel's back, it's not going to push me over the edge. It may in the moment, I might be frustrated or angry or just like, oh, but I'm not going to let that affect the long-term things that I'm focusing on.
Right.
Well, if you weren't affected by it at all, it wouldn't have made a difference in your life. So,
Yeah.
of course, be affected by it. You want to have passion for whatever it is, good, bad, good or bad, and then move on from it. Or, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. This one had a lot. These last two chapters had a lot to do. You know how, like, do you remember this part? She remember when she said about witchcraft, like the doctor, or the I don't know who she was speaking to. It was just a fellow
friend.
Yeah.
friend, but it was like a fellowship, like somebody from the fellowship, and it was witchcraft. And she like, whoa, hold up, you know what I mean? Like, but a lot of people see it as that, honestly, because when he said you've allowed witchcraft into your life, she freaked out because she was like, dude, that's not me. Like, I live that and I do all this stuff right and all that. But, the way he put it, and it makes a lot of sense because I don't think we see that in our lives, that when we let that negativity in, we're letting that negative spirit, that negative thoughts. And in her aspect, it was witchcraft. She was allowing her fear to control her, to control her passion and what she really wanted to do. Sorry.
You ready for a question?
So, yeah, this one's I think all the questions for chapter 6 were kind of tough. This is question 3. Have you faced fear in your life, and what fears might you need to face and deal with today? So I thought this was very interesting because our fears can be as small as not wanting, like afraid of washing our hair like her son's was, right? And I didn't realize until I read the book, I was like, wait, like fears can really be that small. And until I read the book, I didn't, like, it didn't even like dawn on me that little as washing my hair, that could be a fear to somebody. And what may be a small fear to me may be a bigger fear to somebody else. So that part definitely put fear in general and perspective for me. Well, what do you guys think about the question? Your mouth is full. I'm sorry. I didn't
Well, I would have to take this question back just to maybe a few weeks ago. Most of you probably don't know, but I'm going to school for my master's degree, and I had a moment of, I'm just done. Like, I don't want to do it anymore for some reason. I couldn't accomplish one of the tasks, and I just felt defeated, and I was just like, fine, I'm just going to quit this class. I'll take it again. I throw my money in the trash basically and just start over. And it took a moment of me being completely vulnerable to my teacher. I walked into his office and I was like, look, I didn't show up. I failed. Um, I don't know that I can continue this class. I don't know that I can keep pushing. I'm going through a really tough time right now. He's like, well, I think that's the best choice. And I was like, what? Like, he agreed with me. And I was like, oh, wow, I just faced it. Like, I finally was just vulnerable and I faced it. And then I sat there and said, well, what's next semester? What can I do? And I just started crying. And he's like, well, I hate to see you fail. You know, you didn't come this far to just give up. And I was like, you're right, I didn't. And I was like, but what can I do? Like, I just have to. And he's like, no, we're gonna figure this out together. And it took me sitting in his office crying, melting down, having a moment to be completely vulnerable. When he saw that, he was like, oh, well, I don't want to see you to fail either. Like, he realized how devoted I was, even though I was surrendering, like, how I felt. And that was just a couple of weeks ago. And since that happened, it's like been a restart for me. I've like, no, I've worked this hard. I can't just throw it away. We have those moments, and fear really hit me hard because I thought that I was a complete failure at the whole education, and it wasn't just this one thing. So it took a lot out of me mentally, to be honest with you.
I don't know. To be honest, I face fear every day, and I mean, I think you guys know before, I'm a hypochondriac, so I literally have to fight myself from saying that I'm, sick, or I have to fight the urge to want to Google something when you find it on you because I'm going to tell you you're dying. You know what I mean? Like, and so to me, fear is unknown for me. So I fear the unknown. And I think that's everybody in the entire world. And I have done many things to try to help myself through those fears. One is not Googling. Yeah, like just recognizing it. So, I mean, I try to take the realistic route and hope to goodness my mind doesn't go crazy, area. Because like Havilah said in the book is, her anxiety, like anxiety and her fear of not being perfect was ruining her dream. I say career, but her passion, her dream, her path. You know what I mean? It was ruining that for her because he allowed in. And so I think a big part of this, this part of this chapter 6 is about the devil. You know what I mean? Bad spirits, negative vibes. But it's about fearing whatever it is you're fearing and trusting that, that higher power might be giving you that as a challenge. But at the end of the day, you have to choose, you have to choose over fear.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it says on page 103. It says the choice between fear and courage is set before us each day. You can either show up and fight or cower in fear. That choice is simple. And every day I feel like we all have our own little weaknesses and our strengths or things that make us feel uncomfortable. And I think we have to make that choice. And if we just choose to be like, I'm going to deal with it later, or let's talk about it later, then we're just kind of dismissing it. We're not really like picking a side, but it's like, no. But sometimes, like, when you lay in bed in the morning, your alarm goes off and you're like, really? I don't want to get up. You just jump and go, and you don't give yourself that choice. then you're just like, fine, let's do it. And sometimes life choices have to be made that way, and it's hard to do that. Like, no
Right.
lie, it's hard. But sometimes God pushes to that edge and says, make a choice. Now, make the choice.
Absolutely.
Kayla laughing at what I said.
Yeah. Because that's always my go-to line. Like when I don't want to deal with something, when I don't want to talk about something that probably should be,
Yeah.
it's always like, oh, I'll talk about it later. I'll
There's
handle
just
it.
crickets or immediate, hey, how's the weather? Oh,
Exactly.
look, I saw the light just changed.
So, yeah.
Um, it's just so funny. Chastity, is there anything you want to say about that?
Um,
No.
I'll handled it just well.
I-
No, but
Go ahead.
I with the choose to get up. You know what I mean? Like a choose to not choose to your life and not in fear. That's probably the hardest thing anybody can do because we're always going to fear. It's a healthy fear is healthy for us, but allowing it to take over, that's where the journey begins.
Yeah. And I think, to be quite frankly honest, that's where our name Two Brave Sisters came from. And to live simply brave every day is something that, we really truly believe in. And, it takes courage to do stuff, but being brave, there's something more about just being brave and just being like, whatever, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm not gonna think about it. And I think that, I'm getting literally chills saying this, because you can have courage, but you have to like talk yourself up to have the courage to do something. If you're just going to be brave, you're just going to jump 2 feet in and jump off the deep end and go for it. And I think that's really where we're going with this, and we're going with the things that are coming. We don't know. I've been praying. I prayed about it before we got on this call. God, please give us the direction. Please give me the words. Because I'm doing this along with you guys, and so is Kayla. And, we don't have it written out. We don't have it in stone. We're making this as we go. And I think that's what's so powerful. The line that she told her son to say in the bathtub as he was washing, like, that is just so powerful. I will not fear. And I've had to say it myself, and I've had to say, I am safe. I am safe. Like, I've had to tell myself that going to bed, I'm safe. Like, you're in a safe place. It's okay. And I don't know. It just little simple things like that can make a huge difference, and just repeating them over and over. It doesn't have to be a powerful affirmation, but something that works for you.
Eventually you begin to believe it.
You're not fake until you make it. You're just, because I don't know that I truly believe in that statement. Don't fake it till you make it. I've done it. But fake it till you believe it is kind of a better way of saying it.
I don't know. I've done it before too. Fake it till you make it. I have faked it to no end, and then when I made it, I believed it. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If I believe I can, I believe I can. It's like, to me, fake it till you make it. In my aspect, it means be confident in yourself. Show the world, and eventually you will get that in retaliation. You know what I mean? You'll get that reciprocation. Sorry. So, like, so me, fake it till you make it just means walk out with confidence. And so, I don't know. I believe in that statement 100%.
We have about 5 minutes left. So, Kayla, if you want to do another question, or any of your empowerment points.
My empowerment points. One that I found that I read from chapter 6. Succeeding in our spiritual lives is the greatest place of freedom. I mean, and we all find that differently. But for me, I haven't been to church in a couple of Sundays, but for me, that's I feel so much better after I set that, like, I'm setting the tone for the week. No matter what obstacles may come up, I'm already setting that in stone, like, all right, I've got my set, eyes set on God. I know where I'm, like, I don't know where I'm headed, but I know who I can rely on this week, whatever challenges are going to face. Go ahead.
You remember the one statement? I'm sorry, it's just something that I thought of
Yeah.
that really affected me. I actually grabbed my father's jewel. It's a crystal, anyways, and I started talking. But I repeated what she said. She was telling somebody told her to repeat a saying or a blessing or whatever, and saying that give myself over to you and blah 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 blah. That was powerful. That was nice.
That
Yeah.
was very powerful.
I actually wrote that in my journal last week, and I have yet to go back to it, but it's kind of funny that it's because I wrote it and I didn't just read it like multiple times and I listened to the audio, but because I wrote it, I have that there, and I remember physically writing it out and being, okay, well, I see this and I'm going to speak truth into my life. And I think that's the difference between, like what Kayla said, is like physically attending church versus just, praying in your backyard or sitting in the sunset. Like everybody has their own church. And you don't have to physically go to church. You are the church. But sometimes that gives you that extra bump that you need to, really feel that presence. And I wanted to read the little last part on chapter 6, the 104. It says, your enemy isn't messing around. He doesn't allow little fears to stay little. He uses our little fears as an entry point for far greater fears. His hope to keep us in spiritual paralysis. He's banking on you cozying up to worry, fear, and anxiety. Let me remind you, you haven't come this far to melt into fear. You haven't come out of the darkness to live in the shadows. You have come out of darkness to live in the light of full confidence in the birthright God has given you. He wants you to have a game plan for fear, a plan to stay stronger than the struggle, and a plan to empower you every day with a supernatural strategy of power, love, and a sound mind. And I think that sums up everything that we have just been talking about, and how that little cockroach of Satan, he kind of wiggles his way into our lives. And it's not even a big thing. It's the little fears that are the ones that just throw us over the edge.
We can all catch on to the big ones. It's the little ones you sometimes don't.
And they add up.
Absolutely. So, really quick before this call ends, I do want to announce that this week's almost over, but by Sunday, we will be announcing the next book. Liza and I have been talking about it, and we will be announcing that by Sunday, along with a couple other things. So keep an eye out for those announcements to come up. And I want to leave you guys with this: to live fearlessly and to be brave. Go into the rest of this week and the upcoming weeks just living fearlessly and forgetting all those little fears that, yes, they matter, but we need to overcome them.
Amen, girl. Amen. You again, you ladies. I appreciate it.
How about we just talk about it now and not later?
Yes.
That's going to be on one of our special things. I'm not talking about it later. I'm talking about it right now. Kayla knows what I'm talking about. Well, the front, then the back, and the all around. Oh, Chastity, do you have any closing words, girl? No.
Like closing words?
Yeah, we got a minute left.
My thing
Less than a minute.
I always said was just like you just said, live your life without fear, which is the hardest thing we'll do, but just trust to know that somebody will be there to catch you when you fall.
Absolutely.
And we are, you guys are always there for somebody that falls.
Aw. I think you made a really good point. I know we only have a little bit left, but if you don't ever feel like you're going to fall, you can't get to that point where you need to be. So sometimes you have to fall because somebody's there to catch you. So,
My quote that I have on everything on Men's House as well is, it's, darling, what if you fall, or what if I fall? And it says, darling, but what if you fly?
I love that.
Absolutely. Well, about ready to get kicked off. So we hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of the week, and